Hi guys, thanks for visiting my channel. This update has been a while coming and I do apologize for the delay. Our son graduated from college, so we had all those festivities going on. Our daughter needed to come home from college for the summer, so we had to move her and all of her stuff. How she's accumulated so much stuff, I have no idea. So we got to bring her home, and then I've been dealing with some leg issues with my little man. If you've watched my channel for very long, you know I have two wonderful Yorkies that I love to no end, and the littlest one is having trouble with his legs. So we've had some vet visits and all that, but there's been a lot going on. It's been busy and I have neglected to do videos. So I apologize, but we're back, getting back into the groove, and I'm excited to bring you today's video. Today we're just going to talk about some updates. First of all, let's talk about the extracts. On April 17th, I did a video on the vanilla extract and also my coconut extract. And as you can tell, it's extracting beautifully. But I think I'm gonna, and it does taste really delicious. I used 100 proof alcohol and vodka, and it tastes really good, and I have been using it for some things, but I think I'm going to let it go just a little bit longer before I decant some into a smaller container to keep in my pantry upstairs. Simply because you can never have too much delicious vanilla flavor. But guys, this will change your life. This is so good. If you are a vanilla lover, this is worth all the effort and all the waiting. It is absolutely delicious, and I'm so glad that I gave it a try. So when I do decant it in another week or so, I think we're going to give it 2 full months, and then I'll decant some into a smaller container, and then I'll just top it off, refill it and top it off with some more vodka and let it continue to extract the delicious vanilla flavor from those wonderful vanilla beans. Now, some people claim that you can do this forever. This is my first shot at it, so I'm very doubtful that you can get great flavor forever, but certainly several years. Most people who have done this say that you can get great vanilla extract for several years with just the beans that you started with. So I'm really excited about that. The coconut extract I did at the same time on 4/17, and I used 80% proof rum. For this, you can use any type of alcohol you wish, but I just thought that the rum would just be delicious with the coconut, and it totally is. But I think I'm gonna let it go just a little bit longer too, just to extract a little more coconut flavor. You can taste the coconut in it, and the rum with it is divine. But I'm still getting a little more rum flavor than coconut, so I'm gonna let it go a little bit longer. And all I've been doing is keeping it in my downstairs pantry where it's dark and cool, and I just give them a nice shake every day and let them sit there and do their thing. But this has been a really fun experiment, and I'm so excited to use them. Now, the coconut extract, you may be interested in some ideas and ways to use it, and I will post some recipes on that. But one of the ways that I love it is for making oatmeal. You can make, and I love to eat oatmeal for breakfast because it's so good for you, but it can get kind of boring. So I've made coconut cream oatmeal with the coconut extract, just a half a teaspoon of extract in your oatmeal with some freshly shredded coconut and maybe a little vanilla and a little bit of sugar, and it's delicious. Coconut cream pie oatmeal, and it's really good. It tastes just like coconut cream pie, but in a little bit healthier version of it. And then the other way that I use it is I make almond joy oatmeal, which is even better, and it's basically the same thing. Just make your oats however you make them, and then I add a little bit of milk, some chopped almonds, some shredded coconut, and a few mini chocolate chips on top, and let them melt into the oatmeal. Half a teaspoon of the coconut extract. It is just like eating an almond joy candy bar. So that is super delicious, and hope you'll give that a try. Okay, so let's talk about the hummus. I have some good news and some, I don't know if you call it bad news or not sure what you call it, but anyway, the instant hummus in a jar. We canned this up May 5th, and I shared the recipe with you, and this was from the Not Your Mama's canning book, and I had never tried it before. So I did can it up and I did try it, and it is really, really delicious. This is a great way to have hummus on hand because all of your ingredients are in your jar. For those of you who missed the video on canning it, it's garlic, lemon juice, your chickpeas, and toasted sesame seeds. Now when I did prepare it, and all I did to prepare it was I put it in my food processor, and I know there were some of you who were asking about what the texture would be like. A lot of people peel their chickpeas, so I did a little research on that, and some people, when they're making hummus, they will peel their chickpeas, or they just cook their chickpeas longer to soften them up more. When I made my hummus, I don't find that the texture is a problem. When I processed it, I processed mine for about 5 minutes in my food processor. And if you have a high speed or a high tech blender, that would be even better, and it'll probably get it even smoother. But as you can tell, it's a pretty smooth texture, and actually it tastes really good. Now I am glad that I did cut back on the lemon juice a little bit, because that does come through. But the thing that I really enjoyed was the toasted sesame seeds. That toasted flavor, not just plain sesame seeds, but they were toasted, that flavor really shines through. So it's really good. My other thought was her recipe did not call for salt. I definitely think it needs some salt. So if you're gonna can this up, for most pints of beans, it's about a half a teaspoon. So I did add some salt to mine, and it's really pretty good. Now, for the not so good news. I don't know if you want to call it not so good news. I'm not sure how we want to look at it. I assumed because the recipe was actually in a published book that it was a tested recipe. Well, it turns out it is not. The issue of safely canning sesame seeds came up, and the thought did cross my mind before I did my video, but I thought this is a published canning book. Surely this has been proven to be safe, and I didn't really give it another thought. But others of you who watch my channel and you watch that video asked the question about safety. Well, I contacted the author, I contacted the National Center for Home Food Preservation, and I contacted Ball Canning, because they have a where you can ask them questions and they'll respond to you about canning. And I also contacted my local extension office, which would be the Ohio State University Extension Office. The only one, I heard back from the author, and I did hear back from the OSU Extension Office, their canning expert. I didn't hear back from the National Center for Home Food Preservation, and I didn't hear back from Ball, which was both kind of disappointing, but I'm sure they get a million requests a day, people asking canning questions. So it's fine. But the author, her response to me was she feels totally that, number one, it is not a tested recipe. So that's a lesson learned for me. Just because a recipe is published in a book for canning does not necessarily mean that it is a tested recipe. Now, I went through her book and I didn't really see anywhere, maybe I'm wrong, but I didn't really find anywhere, and certainly not on the page where this recipe was listed, that it was a tested and proven recipe. I just assumed. So anyway, that's a lesson learned for me, to never assume just because it's published that it has been tested. Her stance is, She feels totally safe feeding this to her family. Obviously, she's been making it for a very long time. And obviously, she felt good about publishing the recipe. And her take on it is using the lemon juice makes it, and adding the acid preserves it and makes it safe. The expert at the Ohio State University Extension Office, their canning expert, says that that's not true. She said that she's aware of a lot of recipes floating around on the internet for making hummus, and the lemon juice has nothing to do with preserving it. So in her expertise, that doesn't fly. She highly recommends just doing what we've done in the past, just using your canned chickpeas and then doctoring those up. So the truth of the matter is nobody knows if it's safe to can with sesame seeds or not. I did have done extensive research trying to find other recipes where sesame seeds have been used. There are less than a handful that I could find, and they all had to do with pickling, and they were using a very small amount of sesame seeds, certainly not a quarter of a cup that this recipe calls for. So I cannot tell you that this recipe is safe. I can tell you I've made it and I've eaten it, obviously, and it is delicious, and it's a great way to have hummus readily available when you want it without having to use tahini, because tahini is the thing that drives people crazy with making hummus at home. You have to buy tahini in a jar, which is just crushed sesame seeds. It's kind of pricey, and it's not going to keep for a prolonged period of time. So that's the beauty of canning with the sesame seeds, with the garbanzo beans and the lemon and the garlic, is you have everything in your jar. You just process it in the food processor or your blender, and you have instant hummus. So it's a wonderful idea, and it does taste good. However, I can't tell you that it's safe. It is not a tested recipe. If any of you want to do more research, by all means, that's one of the reasons that I've delayed doing this video, because I was continuing to try to do research, waiting for people to get back to me, and I'm just not finding anymore. The truth of the matter is there's been no testing done on canning with sesame seeds. Garlic I know is safe for canning. Garbanzo beans I know are safe for canning. So the only question is the sesame seeds. So I don't know. It's up to you. If you want to be an adventurous canner and do this, by all means. The author says she has no reservations whatsoever about feeding it to her family. They eat it all the time. She makes it and cans it all the time. She's never had a problem. And obviously she's selling thousands of cookbooks with this recipe in it, or canning books with this recipe in it. So she has absolutely no reservations about this process. However, I did cut back on the lemon juice. She said it's probably not a good idea to do that. So I guess if you want to use this recipe, and if you feel that the acid is really helping you preserve it, you might want to use the whole quarter cup of lemon juice. I just used the 2 tablespoons if you go back to my video and watch that, because I know when you can with lemon juice, it is a very strong flavor. So it's entirely up to you. Like I said, the canning expert from the OSU Extension Office says the lemon juice has nothing to do with making it safe. So, and that's from a canning expert. I'm not a canning expert. I'm just a home canner. I try to go by the rules. I did a whole video on that, and now I'm eating my own words, it seems. But a few lessons learned here is, just because a recipe is published in a book does not mean it's been tested. So always use logic and go back to what you know is tried and true and proven. I know better than to take a recipe just off the internet willy-nilly, or a recipe handed down from someone. I know better than to just take that at face value. And I do take all those, I mean, there are great recipes that are posted, but I do evaluate that when I find something that I want to can, and I make sure every single ingredient in the recipe is safe for canning, and it's canned for the appropriate amount of time. So this one kind of took me off guard. But like I said, it's a lesson learned. I'm not ever going to go by, just because something's published does not necessarily mean that it is tried and proven to be safe. So for those of you who are adventurous canners, this is wonderful. It's, like I said, you don't have to have tahini on hand, and it's very, very convenient, and it tastes very good. And honestly, I really, really like that toasted sesame flavor. Tahini, at least what I've been buying, does not say that the sesame seeds are toasted. It just says crushed sesame seeds. So, and I haven't researched exactly how tahini is made, but it doesn't say anything about the sesame seeds being toasted before it's processed. So that toasted flavor is really good. But if you are going to make this recipe, the recipe for the instant hummus in a jar, I highly recommend adding some salt. I think it does need some salt. Now, in my research on hummus, just as a sidebar, I came across a recipe for hummus that has, and I'm not going to say this right, I know I'm not, so I apologize. I hope no one's offended by me mispronouncing this, but za'atar spice. I hope that shows up on camera. This, you guys, is absolutely delicious in hummus. It's so, so good. It has all kinds of stuff in it, but if you sprinkle that, if you want to add a little extra something to your hummus, that is absolutely delicious. And obviously a little drizzle of olive oil across the top is traditional and really, really delicious as well. But if you want to keep this on your shelf, it's a great base. You could add roasted red peppers, you could add roasted garlic, you could add a squeeze of fresh lemon juice to it if you have that on hand. But it certainly eliminates the need for the tahini. So I feel a little bad that I didn't do a little more research before I posted the recipe. So you have my apologies. And I hope I haven't led anyone astray. That is certainly not my intent. You know, if you've watched many of my canning videos, you know I am a stickler for sticking to the rules. So with that being said, I don't know that I'm going to can this up again, instant hummus in a jar, just because of the what if. I don't like that what if out there. I like things that I'm certain of. So I will probably just go back to just canning my garbanzo beans using fresh lemon juice. I do have to say there is something to be said for using fresh lemon juice when you make hummus. That fresh lemon flavor is just really delicious. It's not the same once it's been cooked and canned. But as far as the texture was nice. If you want to make sure your hummus is nice and smooth without peeling your chickpeas, just process it for 3 to 5 minutes in your food processor, and it comes out a really nice silky texture. So yeah, I think that's it. That's pretty much what I learned about hummus and the hummus in a jar recipe. I hope that my update on it is helpful to you. I wrestled with taking down the original video. I'm not going to do that simply because I'm going to put a disclaimer in which I already did. I already said it's not my recipe, so I don't really feel responsible for the recipe at this point. It was from a book that is published and people are purchasing, so I don't really feel responsible in that way. So I'm not going to take the video down of how to make it, and it'll just be up to you how you feel about canning something that is possibly questionable. It could be totally fine. The truth is nobody knows because no one's tested it. So I will leave it with you, and I'll leave it there. So give the extracts a try. They're wonderful. And give the hummus a try if you want to be an adventurous canner. So I hope you guys are having a great summer. I know it's not quite summer yet, but I hope things are going well for all of you. I'll get back in the groove and post videos more frequently now that we've got a little bit of my stuff that was going on out of the way. and we'll have some more fun stuff coming up for you. So have a great day. Thanks so much for watching. If you felt this video was informative, give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you're not a subscriber, and so you don't miss out on any of the fun. And I will see you next time. Thanks so much for joining me today. Bye, guys.